It has been more than 10 years since Game of Thrones initially aired on HBO, and it has been 2 years since the controversial series finale of the zeitgeist-changing fantasy series. But there are still more stories to be told about Westeros and House of the Dragon. The first planned GOT spinoff will premiere next year. So if you're confused by that title or don't know what to expect from the new show, worry not. We are here to tell you everything we know about House of the Dragon. Release date. House of the Dragon will be released in 2022 according to the first teaser video. However, no specific release date has been set. According to George R.R. Martin's blog, filming on the show concluded in February of 2022, and House of the Dragon is currently in post-production. Exciting news out of London. I've been informed that shooting on House of the Dragon's first season has wrapped, he wrote. Yes, all 10 episodes. I've seen rough cuts of a couple of them, and they're fantastic. As for any other series set in the Thrones universe, HBO's Casey Boys previously gave an update on the spin-offs. House of the Dragon is the only one shooting, he said. All the other ones are in various stages of development. People may think we have 10 series shooting at the moment. There's one that will be on the air in 2022. We'll see how the other scripts come along. House of the Dragon has received a 10-episode order from HBO, similar to the early seasons of Game of Thrones. HBO president Casey Bloys said the series would premiere in 2022 during the 2020 Television Critics Association press tour. Bloys told EW in February that the series will begin production in April, and he wasn't lying. The House of the Dragon Twitter account was launched on April 26th, and images of Darcy, Toussaint, Considine, Smith, Cook, and Ifans during the first table read were shared. Cast. Ser Criston Cole, the common-born Dornish son of the Lord of Blackhaven, will be played by Fabian Frankel, who previously participated in the Netflix and BBC One crime thriller The Serpent. Variety describes Cole as having no claim to land or titles. All he has to his name is his honor and his preternatural skill with a sword. Graham McTavish, star of Outlander, confirmed to stylists that he has a role in the series but didn't give anything else away. I'm enjoying that. Yes, he said, I'm really having a lot of fun. We've just started. It's a very big project, so we're getting to know each other. They're lovely people. It's great, but I can't tell you too much. I can't tell you really anything about the story, but it involves a lot of dragons. Speculation after McTavish was reportedly glimpsed in costume has pointed to Harold Westerling, Lord Commander of the King's Guard. Sonia Mizuno, Steve Toussaint, Rhys Ifans, and Eve Best have all recently joined the project. Lord Corlys Veleron, a strong lord of House Veleron, a Valyrian family as old as House Targaryen, and the most famous naval adventure in Westeros' history with the world's largest navy, will be played by Toussaint. Ifans will portray Otto Hightower, the king's loyal hand, and Best will portray Princess Rhaenys Veleron, a dragon rider and Lord Corlys' wife. Meanwhile, Mizuno will portray Mysaria, a lady who arrived in Westeros with nothing and ascended through the ranks to become Prince Daemon Targaryen's most loyal ally. Then there's Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen and Prince Daemon Targaryen, played by Emma Darcy and Matt Smith respectively, and Alicent Hightower, played by Olivia Cook. The two Targaryen royals play pivotal roles in George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood, the novel on which House of the Dragon is based, and the final Dance of the Dragons, a Targaryen civil war that makes up a considerable portion of the novel. So expect to see these characters play key parts in House of the Dragon's events, and given their long-term involvement in the book, we will probably see them over several seasons. TV shows aren't always 100% loyal to the original material, as Game of Thrones demonstrated. Millie Alcock has joined the cast as a younger version of Rhaenyra Targaryen, and Emily Carey will play Alicent Hightower's younger sister. Cook has said a few things about the series, including that there will be no gratuitous violence against women, as Game of Thrones has been accused of several times. I wouldn't feel comfortable being a part of anything that has just egregious graphic violence towards women for no reason whatsoever, just because they want it to be tantalizing in a way that gets viewers, she said. I was lucky enough to read the prequel script before, and it has changed a lot from the first few seasons of Thrones. I don't think they'd be in their right minds to include any of that anymore. The plot. House of the Dragon is based on George R.R. Martin's novel Fire and Blood, which chronicles the rise and fall of the Targaryen dynasty through the eyes of a master in pre-Game of Thrones times. We have a pretty solid sense of what to expect from the plot of House of the Dragon because the book has been published for nearly 2 years. The story begins with Aegon's conquest, which signaled the start of a new world order, the establishment of King's Landing as the global capital, and the actual formation of the Iron Throne. Aegon Targaryen conquered 6 of Westeros' 7 kingdoms, either by conquest or voluntary submission, with the help of his twin sisters Rhaenys and Visenya, not to mention their 3 dragons. Dorne was the lone kingdom that remained unconquered when Rhaenys discovered its fortresses abandoned and only women and children inhabited its seat. Following that, a turbulent succession of Targaryen kings and queens, good, terrible, and everything in between, culminates in the Great Civil War between Aegon II and his half-sister Rhaenyra for their father Viserys I's throne. That long war lasted 2 years, with multiple large-scale conflicts taking place both before Aegon II and Rhaenyra perished with strange and gruesome ends. The subsequent power vacuum was filled by the young Aegon III, ending in the killing of the last dragon. The conclusion of Fire and Blood occurs around 150 years before Robert Baratheon arrives at King's Landing to enroll Ned Stark as the King's Hand. The gap between the end of Fire and Blood and the start of Game of Thrones hasn't been explored in detail, but Martin has stated that he intends to write Fire and Blood Part 2 after the A Song of Fire and Ice series is completed. For the first 4 seasons, Game of Thrones followed the books closely and with few deviations, after which significant modifications to the characters and plot were made, at least partly due to the source work not being finished at the time. As a result, it is difficult to predict how faithfully House of the Dragon will tell the Fire and Blood stories. It is a safe bet that Martin at the helm and Fire and Blood released in its full capacity, the show and novel will complement each other nicely. And of course, we can't forget about the dragons, right? If you're wondering about the dragons, well, there'll be a lot of them in this series. I've always thought this was a cool story, it's one I like, so I'm looking forward to seeing it come alive on screen, Martin told the Stuff Dreams Are Made Out Of podcast. And of course, I'm looking forward to the dragons. Obviously, I love the dragons. We had 3 of them in Game of Thrones, but now we got like 17 of them. And hopefully they'll each have their own personalities, they'll be instantly recognizable when you see them, the colors and all of that, because the dragons do have personalities in the books, and it'll be great to see that come alive. And the dragon riders? That's all pretty cool. The showrunners for House of the Dragon, D.B. Weiss and David Benioff, the showrunners who brought Game of Thrones to life and managed all 8 seasons of the original series, have decided not to participate in the prequels. Brian Cogman, a Game of Thrones writer and co-executive producer, created the concept for House of the Dragon, but has since signed an overall agreement with Amazon Studios, which includes work on the e-commerce giant's impending Lord of the Rings series. House of the Dragon will be administered by writer Ryan Condal and director Miguel Sapochnik in their absence. Ramin Djawadi, an Emmy-winning composer, will also score the new series. Will there be more Game of Thrones prequels? Yes, despite one canceled pilot and the creation of the House of the Dragon, there is more on the way. HBO is developing a series based on Martin's Dunk and Egg books with the goal of expanding the series in the same way that Disney has done with Star Wars on Disney+. There will also be a theatrical production as well as 3 other spin-offs, one about Princess Nymeria and her 100,000 ships, one about Fleabottom, and one about Lord Corlys Valeron. Prepare to spend a lot more time in Westeros in the future, which is definitely something to look forward to. And that is a wrap. Are you excited to see the dragons back? What are your thoughts about this spinoff? Do you think it can give justice to the main show, Game of Thrones? Let us know by leaving a comment down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.